welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline. Thanks for watching us on this cold night. Don't change that dial, just stay there. Order a pizza from Olive Oil's Pizzeria. We just finished ours.
Woo!
They're one of our sponsors for a pizza for the volunteers every night here. And I think I lost a finger. I don't know who bit it, but Smoking Jim was the last one. Call 412-831-1900. Can you get a close-up of that tiger? Because they're watching these now. I even sent some links to them and made some new friends. And while we're talking about friends, we got 4,094 likes when I left the house, so we're holding steady there. Thank you. That's 2 days in a row we held at that number, Jim Aujay. And thank you, Tiger. You can watch us every week, Tuesday through Saturday night, everywhere in the Pittsburgh area. Only Comcast 7 in Bethel Park. Verizon 32, it's everywhere, from Nemacolin to Cranberry and Wexford. And thanks for watching our show. I ran into a couple people today. I was at Trader Joe's.
Oh, yeah?
And the one cashier goes, he's always talking. So the couple, they go, well, what's your name? I go, Al Levine, the talking machine. They go, well, what station are you on? I said, we're on TV. So watch us on Verizon 32. So shout out to Eddie and Claire Brightman. So thanks for being in line behind me. And they let me cut in front of them because I only had 3 items I was buying. So
oh, that was nice.
What a nice couple there. It's a great place to go. Maybe they'll sponsor us, Devin Shea. We'll get some product from them that's healthy, okay? And I'm Al Levine, the talking machine, as you just heard. Chip the Prophet Hayner, Smoking Jim Frazier, and Zach Brenner is studying for what's on his mind. So that's our first segment. And I don't know if Z's ready, but what's on your mind, Zach?
Well, Al Levine, the talking machine. What's on my mind? What often happens here on this show is these two gentlemen to my right talk about what's on my mind before it's my time to go. So then I have to scramble like Randall Cunningham, that is, and come up with something additional to add to what was already on my mind since I couldn't get them to stop. So what I had on my mind tonight was Beast Mode, a.k.a. Marshawn Lynch from the Seattle Seahawks. And what was on my mind is a lot of people, I want to cue you in on why Marshawn Lynch acts the way he acts towards the media, because I don't know if my esteemed colleagues are aware, but
I don't care.
In 2008, Marshawn Lynch was involved in a hit and run in Buffalo when he was a Bill at the time. And then subsequently following that, he got arrested on gun charges, so which were later dropped, as was the hit and run.
Really?
So, but much to the chagrin of Buffalo Bills fans, who are perennial losers, in my opinion, this is what the trade was made from Buffalo to Seattle, which sent Marshawn Lynch. They got Chris Hairston, a tackle, and linebacker Tank Carter. A 2011 4th-round pick and a 2012 5th-round pick is what the Bills received as compensation for Marshawn Lynch leaving and going to Seattle. He was 24 years old. He was a Pro Bowler coming off a Pro Bowl season for Buffalo, and they traded him to Seattle. But part of the reason why Marshawn Lynch acts the way that he acts is because the way the media treated him when he was in Buffalo as a Bill, when he was charged in these incidents. You know, I was under the presumption that you were innocent until proven guilty in this great nation of ours. But according to the reporters and the media in Buffalo, you're not. And they railroaded this young man at 24 years old. And subsequently, now he has a huge problem with the media, dating all the way back, like I said, to 2008. We're now in 2015. And this kid just does not like to deal with the media. So today's media day for the Super Bowl, Beast Mode takes the podium, catches a bag of Skittles, and proceeds for 4 minutes and 30 seconds to tell the same thing over and over and over again, that he's just there so he doesn't get fined. And I heard that the fine was going to be in excess of $500,000 if he didn't show up today. So shout out to Marshawn Lynch. I understand why you're not feeling the media. I don't know if anybody else does, but, you know, it happens. And he actually has a legitimate beef and gripe with the media, and he never receives an apology. Not that he was going to get one for his actions in 2008. But hence, this is the reason why the kid is the way he is. And I hope he loses the Super Bowl on Sunday, Jim Frazier. And that's what's on my mind.
Well, hey, Zach, I got to take that I don't care about it because I've seen friends and other people get mistreated by media and just other people in life. So if he feels he's wronged, which it sounds like he was, I don't understand when you're making millions of dollars a year and you got a Super Bowl trophy. That was a blessing. And that's what you look at things. You get that lemon, make some lemonade out of it. So why are you going to hold that hate in your heart? Maybe that motivates them, like a lot of players, and yourself included. You like that chip on your shoulder because the anger, sorry, Chip, no pun intended, this time. We'll get one later. So I don't understand that logic, but now I know I understand him, and I'm all in on the Seahawks. Okay. Now let's go to what's on Smoking Jim's mind. Now I have to preface this by, you do understand that I'm asking what's on your mind this week. Because last week after that 18th concussion that you had, we didn't know what happened there. So sorry, folks, for our regulars, Renee and everybody else that's out there, you understand.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want the green,
I got a fresh one.
You got to see Levine. And I guess Marshawn Lynch ought to wear a T-shirt that says, I wasn't hired for my disposition. But anyhow, what's on my mind this week is Pittsburgh Steelers draft is on my mind. And wow. And I'm looking at the third round, and I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, here's some of the needs of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Backup running back, third down back, H-back, kickoff returner, gunner for kickoffs, gunner for punts. How about a fullback? How about a leader in the locker room? How about a leader in the weight room? And how about somebody that's smarter than Al Levine, the talking machine? How about that's 10 different players, and you can get that in one guy. There's a guy that plays at the University of Yale University.
Pretty smart there.
5'11", 225 to 230 pounds. Got sprinter speed. Lives in a weight room, built like a bodybuilder, runs, blocks, and catches. And his name is Tyler Varga. Ran for 1,500 yards last year. He ran for 26 touchdowns, had 5 touchdowns in one game. And I tell you what, Al Levine, the talking machine, he speaks 3 different languages. He's smart, and he carries a 3.6 grade point average from Yale University. Pittsburgh Steelers, you need a backup running back. And my suggestion on draft day, because I'll be there, is to take Tyler Varga from Yale University. Or is it the University of Yale? One or the other.
Whatever it might be, Smoking Jim. Thank you. Appreciate it. Can't wait to meet him on Pittsburgh Sportsline. Chip the Prophet Hayner, what's on your mind?
Several things, but I just want to make a brief comment to Zach's point before. And I can understand that Marshawn Lynch feels that he was unjustly treated, and that's fine. And yes, in the American criminal court system, there is a presumption of innocence until you are proven guilty.
Thank you for repeating that.
However, he was not judged in a criminal court system. He was judged in the court of public opinion. None of those things pertain to that. But, the thing I want to make a little comment about was something that isn't sports related at all. And I think, that in today's society, all we hear is negative things about the police and police brutality and this and that and the other thing. But I think the Bethel Park Police Department should get a notice. Get a shout out
TV.
Because a young gentleman lost his life last week. He had brain cancer, but the Bethel Park Police made his lifelong dream possible for him last year. They made him an honorary police officer for a day, which just about made that child about as happy as he could be. And and a number of different things happened to him. He was able to throw a pitch out for the Pirates. The opening pitch for the Pirates. And the thing I was most impressed about that, here's a young man who's terminally ill, and he didn't bounce it when he threw the first pitch, and that's the one thing that you never want to do when you're throwing out the first pitch is you don't bounce it. But I think the Bethel Park, the police department was instrumental in sending him off with full police honors yesterday, and there was police from all over the country that came to pay their respects to little Joey Fabus, and I'd like to take a moment to recognize the Bethel Park Police Department and to think about this young gentleman that touched everybody's lives. So, I just think that needs to be talked about.
And for anybody that watches the show from last night, we did that last night too, so we'll do it again right now. We'll give a moment of silence for Lil Joey.
All right, Chip, you want to?
Well, not on a lighter note, and it's Super Bowl week, and everybody's itching to watch the Patriots get steamrolled by the Seahawks, and I want to see the Legion of Boom lay it down on them. But just real briefly, and I hope we don't get involved in the conversation around this because I think it's been beat up ad nauseum, and I'm sick of hearing about it. But the Patriots. In this whole Deflategate thing, the arrogance with which they carry themselves, I think somehow with the owner of the Patriots demanding an apology from the NFL before they have, quote unquote, finished their investigation, which I'm sure we know the outcome of it has already been predetermined. But, the fact remains, the balls were deflated, okay? 11 of 12 balls on the Patriots sideline. There were none on the Colts sideline that were deflated, but apparently nobody did it. And
Chip, there's been more cheaters in baseball.
Let me
Oh
finish.
my God! All right, go ahead.
But to say that the Patriots feel that they're being wronged because people inferred that they cheated, they've already been caught cheating once, and they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar again, and now they're trying to make it seem like they're the victims. Unfortunately, that's not the case, but that's all I got to say about it, and that's all I hope we say about it.
Well, that won't be all we have to say about it. Because I posted on Facebook a couple times because I think this is the greatest publicity ploy that the NFL could do ever. Think about it. Every station in the world is putting it on. And one of my favorites, and I said this last night, Bill Nye, the science guy, well, then he come out with another video today, which is just great. He put 12 footballs in a refrigerator. You got to see it. Bill Nye, the science guy, goes, wham, he's out of the picture, puts 12 in, 51 degrees in your refrigerator. It's enough to have food rot. But he brought the footballs out after he left it in there, gave a little conversation how none of it's true what the Patriots are saying. There was no difference because that was the temperature game day.
Who's Bill Nye's favorite team?
Wow.
Who's Bill Nye's favorite team? Who's he rooting for on Sunday?
I didn't get to it yet. I'm trying to build this up to a little suspense, a little teaser by Zach. So he goes on about this, that science does not back that up. Just see Bill Nye. And at the end of that little comedic thing that he come up with, go Seahawks. So everybody, this is America, my friend. You're allowed your opinion, I'm allowed mine. And this isn't going to die now because somebody will have to rule on it. Or Goodell will go to another party with Bob Kraft and nothing will be said. And that's my prediction on that. Mm-hmm. Well, we covered that. And now we got to go to, Smoking Jim's ready. It's cold outside, but it's pretty warm in here. They got these lights turned up. I need some suntan. And it's getting hot. Smoking Jim, here's one of my favorite segments, Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine, and a quick shout out to Primetime Matt, Devin, and Soul Brother number 2, Ian, back there in the control room. But hey, what's Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac? A friend of mine, Dave Taylor, used to play. Lil Z won't know anything about this. Used to play for the Baltimore Colts. And I was at a convention one time, and he introduced me to Rudy. And I figured that would wake you up, Lil
Rudy
Z.
Whitaker.
There you go. That's a big word for a Steel Valley guy. But anywho, and I'm talking, and I happened to get to talking to Rudy, and I talked to him, and I tell you what, he was an inspirational guy. He's a motivational speaker, has a book out.
He had a movie too.
He was movied and was sued also, but you can look that up. But anyhow, this is before the lawsuit. But Rudy told me that his dream was always to play for Notre Dame. And he said he actually was turned down by Notre Dame 3 different occasions. And he says that inspired him to keep working hard, get more and more A's, till finally Notre Dame had to accept him. And so he had his dream of being able to walk on to the football team, and walked on, and all the other players wore gold pants. He wore white pants. And so he says Notre Dame recruited, all the recruits was big time, but they recruited a big time quarterback who quickly became 4th or 5th team quarterback. Looked like he's never going to play at Notre Dame. And then the kids started hanging around with bad people and started teasing Rudy. And Rudy said one time he was walking, the guy said, why are you here at practice? Yeah, you wear white pants, we got gold pants, you're never going to play. You're never going to get in the game. You're not any good. You're wasting your time. And he says he went in and he finally got into the game, got the quarterback sack. After the game, the kid came up, shook his hand, and says, man, I understand now, why you made this commitment. And he said he came back, Rudy graduated and came back, homecoming or whatever. It was a Purdue game, I believe. And he said he's sitting in the stands. All of a sudden, he see this kid like paying attention, not hanging around with bad people, got a football up under his arm. They're down 28 points. The first team quarterback got hurt. The second team quarterback got hurt. Third team quarterback got hurt. This kid jumps in the game, throws 4 touchdown passes, brings Notre Dame back. They win the game. The kid later on goes to the NFL and performs like an Eagle, not as an Eagle, but as a 49er. That kid was Joe Montana. So that was a great story. Ringgold's own Joe Montana was a teammate of Rudy.
And in that movie, I think doesn't Vince Vaughn play that part though in the movie though? The guy condescending guy that's always giving Rudy a hard time, but then he wins him over. And then they come over.
I've never seen the movie.
No, of course not.
He was watching film.
You read the book, right?
No, he didn't. Smoking Jim.
know that if he didn't watch the movie, he surely didn't read the book.
Well, the nicest thing about Smoking Jim, this was just an honest fiction and fact, mostly fact that we know of, because he didn't watch a movie, he didn't read a book, so he must have met Rudy, because nobody can make that up.
Thanks to my buddy Dave Taylor, former Baltimore Colt.
That's right.
Didn't he have a big afro or something?
No, he's a white guy. Got a black name, but he's a white guy.
Oh, man.
Why's he got a black
Thank you. Always got the opposite coin. All right, we got Chip's trivia time. What do you got tonight?
What do I got this week? Well, this Saturday evening, the NFL will name this year's inductees into the Hall of Fame. And what I thought I would do was I would just take a quick rundown on the people that are eligible for induction into the Hall of Fame. And there's a lot of candidates here that are worthy, some more so than others. I know Jim and I share the same opinion about a certain former outside linebacker, Kevin Green. And, we both feel that he should be in the Hall of Fame. Whether or not he will get enough votes, we'll have to wait and see. But Kevin Green's resume, second to none. I mean, if you compare his statistics to Lawrence Taylor's, who everybody calls the greatest outside linebacker ever, he smokes him. He played 4 more years, had 160 sacks compared to Lawrence Taylor's 130. But some other people that are going to be considered. One of them's a kicker, Morton Anderson. Morton Anderson kicked for 25 years in the NFL. He has the NFL record. He appeared in 382 games. Now, he scored 2,544 points, which is the most by anybody ever in the history of the NFL. Wow. And he has a record which I feel will never be broken. He has scored at least 1 point in 360 consecutive games. Now,
360, that's awesome.
The next closest person to him is 100 behind him. Okay, so, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Now, you would think, with that kind of a resume, would he get into the Hall? Well, when I go down the rest of the list of people that are eligible, there's going to be people that deserve to be in the Hall that aren't going to get elected. First, there's Jimmy Johnson. head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, back-to-back champions. And actually, if you want to consider it, he was the coach for all 3 Cowboys championship teams in the 90s. You know, Barry Switzer drank his way through the season that he was the coach. Another person that's equally as deserving is Don Coryell. And somebody like
Eric
my friend
Coryell.
Jack. My friend Zach probably doesn't even know who Don Coryell is, but Don Coryell revolutionized the passing offense that we see nowadays. He did it with actually with Jim Hart as a quarterback back with the St. Louis Cardinals, and then he turned those into playoff contenders. And then he did the same thing with the San Diego Chargers with Dan Fouts and Kellen Winslow and Charlie Joyner and John Jefferson,
Chuck
JJ.
Muncy.
Then those were teams that went to the
Uniontown
AFC
Chuck
Championship
Muncy.
twice. 1981 and 1982. In the one year they beat the Steelers in the playoffs, and then they lost to the Bengals in the Ice Bowl over at Riverfront Stadium. Also, Tony Dungy is mentioned as a candidate, but I don't think his coaching credentials stack up against Coryell's or Jimmy Johnson's. Okay, well, my opinions may. Not,
You guys are allowed to
be accepted
disagree.
by everybody, but this is my opinions. Next, Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison, 1,102 receptions in his career, 14,589 yards receiving, 128 touchdowns. I think he should be a first ballot. We shall see. Another, Will Shields. I don't think this is going to be his year he gets in. He was a right guard for the Kansas City Chiefs, played for 13 years, perennial All-Pro. Next, I think a person that I can't understand why he's not in the Hall of Fame, Tim Brown. 1,094 receptions in his career, 14,934 yards receiving, and 100 touchdowns receiving. If that isn't Hall of Fame
And don't
credentials,
forget kickoff and punt returns.
that's right. If that doesn't give you credentials to get in the Hall of Fame, I don't know what does.
Good job.
John Lynch,
man.
safety from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He may get into the Hall of Fame. I don't think this year is going to be his. Jerome Bettis, Pittsburgh's favorite son. I don't understand why Jerome isn't in the Hall of Fame, but looking at the rest of the candidates are here, I could see how Jerome could come up just a little bit short this year. I believe he belongs in the Hall of Fame, but you think about all the people that we're mentioning here, they don't elect all 15 guys into the Hall of Fame.
27, 47.
Next, Kevin Green. I've talked about Kevin Green. I feel that he should be in. Charles Haley played 13 years in the NFL, and on 11 of the 13 years that he played on the NFL, his teams won the division championship, and he won Super Bowls with the Cowboys and the 49ers. So he's a multiple Super Bowl winner. Somebody that should be considered. Terrell Davis. Terrell Davis, unfortunately, he was a shooting star, but his star burned out quick. I don't think his statistics warrant being.
And his kids can't vote.
Yep, and I don't. I don't.
Sorry, I couldn't resist that.
But I don't think his resume warrants him being elected into the Hall of Fame. Junior Seau, I think he's a hands down first ballot selection. 20 years in the NFL. His
Plus
resume
CTE.
speaks for himself. And then he even thought enough of the game that when he decided to take his life, he put a bullet into his chest and not his head so he could work on helping the next generation of players not have the same affliction that he had. So I think Junior Seau is going to get in. Orlando Pace. Orlando Pace was a first-round draft pick of the St. Louis Rams. And, would Kurt Warner have been a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback without him protecting his backside? And, of course, that leaves us with Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner, who doesn't have the gaudy statistics of a Peyton Manning or a Brett Favre, but he took 3 teams to the Super Bowl. And then in the years that he played, was there any quarterback that performed better? I don't think so, but it'll be interesting to see who gets selected. I've got stars next to Jimmy Johnson, Don Coryell, Marvin Harrison, Tim Brown, Kevin Green, Junior Seau, and Orlando Pace. I don't
Some
think
of them aren't going to make it in.
no. Of those 7, I think 5 of them will make it in. But we shall see.
And every bag boy in the country is pulling for Kurt Warner.
Hey, listen, we all have dreams.
Oh, and one last thing.
Okay.
Today would have been Art Rooney's birthday. Art Rooney Sr.
The Chief.
The Chief. Yes.
R.I.P.
Maybe the only Art Rooney that I like.
Did you ever meet him? Art Senior?
No. One of my wish.
You're just too
Smokey
young.
Jim had to take a different staircase, a different elevator. He wasn't allowed anywhere near
No,
the
he
chief.
was too young.
He was too young. He was,
passed.
That's what it was. He
He-
passed.
he was still winning high school championships that got taken away.
All you guys trying to find.
Mythologically, hypothetically, potentially, possibly.
Trapper Tom, Mario, there's your clue.
Inexplicably.
All right, enough of that. Thanks, Chip.
I'll grill this in real quick. Isn't it Z time?
Oh, man.
Wait, I'll announce E-time. We had to wait. The Sandbox moved over a whole spot.
That's cool.
They're in there laughing
I'll have
and
to endure
chuckling.
back-to-back segments on the bookend on the left.
All right. We now have Z-time. Zach Brenner.
Well, you know, I just sit back and I kind of just like rope a dope and just take it all in and wait for my chance. And
It's
my
Z-time.
chance just came, folks, because I love it when Chip talks about football because I absolutely hate baseball. And they cheat every day in every game in baseball. And just because you don't get caught doesn't mean you're not cheating. And Chip knows it. And they not only do they take performance-enhancing drugs and get away with it almost at every single level except high school, but some high school kids are apparently starting to juice in baseball too. They do anything to gain an edge. They'll put pine tar on their hands. They'll hollow out the baseball bat. God only knows all the other things that they're trying to do. Put sandpaper inside the palm of their hand. Anything to get an extra edge to win a game, to make more money, these kids will do. And I can't blame them for it. Lance Armstrong just came out and said that if he had to do it all over again, he would take Peds. Alex Rodriguez, baseball. He's coming back, folks. Guess what? He's going to be the designated hitter for the New York Yankees this upcoming season. Make about $30 million this year. He's admitted to juicing. He's never probably going to be in the Hall of Fame either. But all my points lead to this thing. I'm flipping through. I never get to watch TV as much as everybody else. And I'm flipping through, and I see a commercial with
Why don't you?
my favorite, Pete Rose. He's walking through the hall in his own house, and his girlfriend or whoever yells at him, "Pete, get out of the hall." And he jumps out of the hall, and he's like, "Even in my own house?" It was a Skechers commercial, and I give the people at Skechers the utmost
What did they
props.
pay him on that since he can't work anywhere or
I
sell
have
his
no
autograph?
idea, but it was a great ploy to say that he's not even allowed in the
I have
hall.
one question
Was he in the
while you're
Detroit
going on all
Tigers
this.
uniform?
I hate to butt in as a moderator, but you're accusing baseball of cheating. Now, football cheats the same or more. It's just in sports. You can't say one's cheating more than the other. Conrad Dobler, who I bring up to you ad nauseum, made the Hall of Fame because he wrote in his book, "I held on every play because I knew they would not call me for holding on every play." Is that cheating?
Of course it is.
I'm talking about publicly admitting and being caught red-handed. There are more per capita in baseball players than
I'd
there
have to
are
I
in
would
football.
beg to differ. And get the
And then-
statistics.
and then
if
let's-
you look at how many football players got suspended for PED use this year,
And then-
as compared to
Oh, and
baseball,
then I'm going to tie it in real quick.
Not even
because
close.
Yeah, I'm
I'll-
waiting for the loop.
Chip loves to beat on the commissioner of football, Roger Goodell. But in the same sentence, though, your commissioner of your favorite sport, Bud Selig, was one of the biggest jokes of any commissioner in the history of
You know
modern
what?
era
He already
sports.
said that.
Exactly.
I
I
understand
have
that, but
read
I'm just telling
Bud
you.
Selig
I'm just telling
every
you
year I've
though,
been on this show.
that if you gotta have accountability across the board. If it's cheating, it's cheating. Then it's cheating, no matter what, across the board. Whether it's deflating a football in football or putting some pine tar on your hands to get that extra grip when you throw that slider down the plate, so you have a little bit more control because your Tommy John's giving out and you need that contract.
Luckily, you don't know a lot about
Yeah,
baseball.
it's a
but
good.
that's
It's
okay.
obvious that you don't know
Yeah.
much about what you're talking about.
That's pretty good, though.
Because you know what I like, the best part of it was when the high school kids hollow out their aluminum bats.
Zach, you did. That was a great segment of Z Time, but it was mostly opinion and fiction
all good.
with a little taste of fact. And I'm getting a little itchy here with that fact because that pine tar only does so many
Hey,
things.
you know what?
You can actually put it on a lozenge for you, and it'll help your throat, I hope, during the flu season. Well, thanks for all that. It's been quite entertaining. I guess I'll get more serious because we're talking about On Location. First, I have to announce a couple things. We didn't think our video would get out in time. Wow. So it did, thanks to Dave Cable. Tonight, you can actually get there to do this. Paint Your Glass, sponsored by Blue Moon at Duke's Rib House and Lounge. Guess what? At 8 o'clock. So you can be fashionably late. Watch the end of our show. Go to Duke's Rib House and Grill and tell them the Talking Machine and Pittsburgh Sportsline sent you there for whatever that Paint Your Glass is. Then on February 1st, everybody knows what February 1st is, Super Bowl. They have a free buffet, and their food is just great.
Best ribs in town.
Yeah, and Smokin' Jim just had one 2 weeks ago. I can't mention what he had last night because in 2 weeks he'll mention it.
We got a guy in Homewood, though, that watches the show periodically named Drew. They got the best ribs.
Yeah, he does. In that neighborhood. It's in every neighborhood because everybody wants to talk about it. Well, the drink specials, they got free giveaways, and it starts at 4 p.m. So check that out on Super Bowl Sunday if you can. Then one more thing, the new owners of Duke's Rib House and Grill, who, you know, we go out there each week, are celebrating their 1-year anniversary. Now, normally you have 1 day for an anniversary. Not these guys. March 6th through the 13th. They got specials every day. Go out and celebrate with them. That's for 7 full days. So check it out. That's just something there. And it was a great night there. Not many people showed up in the bar for our show. So the few people that did show up, thanks again. We appreciate it. It's up on air right now. And check out our guests, Chris Riskus and Mario Tempest. And you'll hear the other Z Time where he gave a lot more insights than he did tonight. Not as much fiction, but it was a lot of fact last night. And that's after shoveling the city of Pittsburgh out. He had pictures everywhere from every end. Now, Groundhog's Day. We're going to, can you get this? PNC Park, Atrias. We'll be there Groundhog Day. They said, Al, could you mention the Talking Machine Big Mouth Burger? Everybody knows I don't have a problem saying that. It's delicious, and Smokin' Jim has never, ever cleaned a plate before. 2 times in the last 2 weeks he's done that.
Very good.
With everything on there.
That's
Zach
never had.
hasn't tried it yet, but we understand that. He enjoys all the other things. He experiments every week with some new dish there. So appreciate it. We'll be there 7:30 to 8:30. Come on out to Atrias. If it's cold outside, it's warm in there, and you can find it. It's right at PNC Park. So thanks for watching, and come on out to one of our places where we're at. Now we're going to go, I got a list, and I'll just show it. This is what we usually talk about. How's that look, Tiger? Hey, could you talk to Prime Time for a second?
Prime time.
Oh, that's good. You think people can see that? Or is this an eye test?
Yeah, it's an eye test.
All right, well, we got an S, we got a P.
He didn't even try to zoom in.
He's busy right now. That's why it's prime time.
He's deep in thought.
We got Steeler talk, Pirates, Penguins, Super Bowl, Pitt, high school. This is you guys pick it because you go randomly wherever it is.
Well,
which section would you
Let's
like?
go with
Zach, go ahead.
Please
Since you're on
do not
fire.
pick the Pirates. We're not
Oh,
going.
you know what? I'll make it quick with the Pirates. Pirates are in the
You
process
two are. It's
of
like a great thing.
negotiating a trade. Travis Snyder's on the trading block. Still, Pirates are in discussions with the Orioles, maybe picking up a couple of minor league pitching prospects. But don't be too surprised if you see some movement there in the next few days. Deal hasn't been hammered out yet, but they're in negotiations.
Well, winter meetings help, and spring training's on its way.
Yes, it is.
All right, Zach, what was your choice? I know you had something.
We could go with.
What do you
NFL
like? Can you see
playoffs.
this? Because
Yeah, I
nobody
can
out
see
there
it.
in the air can see this.
Playoffs. We'll go with the NFL playoffs,
All right, which is the Super Bowl.
which is the Super Bowl.
And everybody knows you love New England because they're in the AFC. Because they watch the show, and I've been getting messages on Facebook, and they're not real kind to you.
Hey, that's fine. It comes with the territory. But
Okay, just
hopefully
checking.
I'm victorious on Sunday, and I'm writing my prediction. And going back to Deflategate, would the ball being underinflated have helped the Colts run stopping game against Blunt. I don't think so, because I think LeGarrette Blunt could have ran the ball down their throats with a rugby ball if it came down to it, with a golf ball, whatever ball you pick a ball. But the Colts weren't that good, and that sometimes often happens, and I get upset in playoff situations sometimes in one and done scenarios when I think the Steelers would have gave the Patriots more of a run for their money with Le'Veon Bell on crutches out there. That's just my humble opinion, but
You mean on
we'll
the
never
sideline?
know. We'll never
would've
know.
Well, here's the one thing I want to comment about, with this Deflategate, and and it was obvious that the Patriots beat the snot out of the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, that pretty much goes without saying. I think the incident with the deflated footballs is another issue altogether. But I think what that does for the Patriots, and if you think about it, they're going into every game that they know that they have some type of a decided advantage that the other team doesn't have. That gives them a level of confidence going into the game and a mindset that, we've got something working in our favor that isn't working for them. And I think that might help them with their psyche or whatever, and can be an encouragement for them to play better or whatever. But I do think that, if they both played with equal balls on that Sunday afternoon, I still think the Patriots would have beat the Colts. But, the fact that they've got, that ace hidden up their sleeve,
Well, that's a good point, Chip, but that's not the actual thing that I'm looking at when I look at Deflategate. First of all, it gives, if it's true, and if they have a history of doing this going back for a while, I think this is no different. It gives an advantage to a quarterback, no different than steroids or anything else. I think this will jeopardize, in my opinion, Tom Brady's eligibility into the Hall of Fame. I think if Barry Bonds can't go in, Tom Brady shouldn't go in if they find out he's been doing this for years.
Smoking Jim, I gotta disagree.
No, you know what? He's
Barry
making
Bonds,
a point.
I just saw Barry Bonds. He's now a coach. He doesn't wear the hat that he used to. And he took clear and everything else. He had a problem. He was afraid the other guys were getting more publicity than him, and he was an MVP before it. One of the greatest baseball players in history.
Mm-hmm.
And he succumbed to doing something illegal.
Peer pressure.
We're agreeing then.
Well, not
No,
yet.
and
No, not at all. Part of this, you're just out of control.
If they say
No.
for 10 years Tom Brady would not have been able to throw the football effectively without Deflategate,
How incompetent
then
of a league is there if you could let these guys get away with throwing the ball underinflated for 10 years?
Here's the other thing. What difference does it even make, except in maybe some bad weather, a deflated ball? Everybody grips a football a certain way. Some, like Bradshaw, did it unusual with his finger back.
I've known guys, because the college football is much different than the NFL football, and I've known guys who could whip that college ball. They can't throw the NFL football.
But you want to know something? But you want to know something? I think to Jim's point, to his point, if you've got rules in the game, and the rules are there for a reason, and everybody's supposed to abide by them, and if you decide to pick and choose which ones you decide to acknowledge and which ones you're going to bend or break, you know what? It makes no difference whether it's PEDs or whatever. If you're busted for cheating, I think that should affect your eligibility.
Well, why do you think the Patriots are crying like they are that somebody has to pay for it, or you got to apologize to us?
Well,
because there's a culture of cheating.
What's going to happen is somebody's going to lose their $7 an hour job,
right?
And they're going to have to live on that $250,000 that's in the bank.
And if you three were on my coaching staff and you weren't trying to explore every avenue and the boundaries without injecting yourself and maybe just putting a little puncture into the ball and letting a little air out, hey, I'll fire every single one of you, because if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Well, here's what I would say. You can't go by that.
It's going to be a rich ball boy that falls on the sword.
That's not what it's about. But people are always taking an edge. With this Deflategate, look at come out now. Just ban the players like the Black Sox.
You know what they ought to do with
ban Kraft.
Do you know what they
ban them then?
You know what they ought to do with football because of this Deflategate thing? You know how they got the K balls for the kickers? They're brand new. new, fresh out of the wrapper, inflated to the. They ought to do that with all the balls for both teams, all games. They don't get a chance to break them in and let the quarterback pitch which 12 he wants to use. That way, you're leveling the playing field. Everybody's got the same balls. They're shiny. They're brand new. And you know what? I bet you what you see will happen is you'll see a reduction in the offense, and you'll see the defenses become more part of the game again because there'll be a lot more turnovers. There'll be a lot more tip balls. They won't, and,
How
and
about
things
this?
like that.
Why don't we go back in time a little and Smoking Jim's time machine, and we use one football, unless it goes out of the playing field and it doesn't come back. Why don't we use one football for both teams and kickers,
They used to do it.
and just play ball? You got your ball,
But you know what happens though when you get the kid that scores his first NFL touchdown, he takes that ball and runs over.
Here's
man,
what you do.
He gives it to his mom.
Here's what you do. We have a case of them. Here you go. Sorry. This is the rules of the game. You can't keep a ball. This is what we play with.
I
That's
want
our
that ball. I
rule.
scored my first touchdown.
Well, I don't give a damn about you. Go take it out of the trophy case and put it in there. It's pristine.
It's in the CBA,
One ball,
sir.
one game. That's it. What else would you like? How about Penguins? They're playing tonight.
Playing tonight, and what a performance by Mark Andre Sunday in the All-Star game.
I could
He
get,
was
I
like
could
a sieve.
get the
He did
sarcasm from
7
all the way down
goals
there.
and 16 shots. That's an
Well,
All-Star-like performance.
at least he was
And
focused.
Levine, if you could intervene, please, or I'll do it.
I'll
since the
intervene.
end's
What do you
always-
want?
Being a goaltender in the NHL All-Star game
Is a joke.
Is a joke in itself. There's no defense played. You
He's
this-
being facetious
there's
about
3-on-1s,
all this.
2-on-1s.
That's in the book, Zach.
Yeah,
We had a
He's
discussion last
disingenuous.
night.
He's disingenuous.
I'd like to hear Chip's take on last night. We feel that the only true All-Star game that can be played is in baseball because you can actually play the game of baseball
I agree
for
with
an
you.
All-Star game.
I
every
agree with you.
Every other game.
Unanimously, we come up with that.
No,
And maybe that should be the only baseball game.
And you want to know
played all
something
year.
else about the All-Star game in baseball? Is
you,
they
sir.
should not use the All-Star game in baseball to determine who gets home field advantage in
That
the
was your
World
boy
Series.
Bud
I
Selig.
think the team with the
He's
best
against
record
Bud
should
Selig.
have.
What are you
All I've
doing?
done for 3 years is criticize Bud Selig.
You're
And
getting his blood
and
pressure
the only
up.
reason why I haven't criticized the new commissioner, he's only been in his job 1 day.
And that's a great point. Don't forget, back in the day in the NFL, Air Coryell would probably be in the Hall of Fame because they would have a Super Bowl, but the San Diego Chargers, who had the best record in the NFL, had to go to Cincinnati to play the playoff game, just like the
below zero.
1972 Dolphins, undefeated, had to come to Pittsburgh to play in the championship because it
Late
didn't go by
breaking
record.
news. I hate
Well,
to interrupt that good
But
point.
I agree with you.
Late breaking news because we don't talk enough Penguins. 1-0 Pens are winning. Thanks, Devin Shea. You're on the ball or on the puck in
And,
the control room.
On the pizza.
And
He's done with pizza.
to
Olive
speak-
Oil's Pizzeria.
To speak to the Penguins right now, the Penguins, I think at this point where they're at in the season, they need to work on starting to get their players healthy for the playoff run. Now, Sid Crosby got a shot last week, and they
his
say
lower body.
In his lower body,
Whoa.
and he's claiming that the injury that he has affects every facet of his game. And if that is the case,
What is
why
it?
is he playing injured? And why isn't he getting himself healthy so he can be healthy going into the playoffs? Evgeny Malkin's been injured, been playing hurt the whole first half of the season.
And here's another thing. You
and
talk
he's
about
getting-
rules and things. They shouldn't be playing, just like when they have an injury report. They don't tell the truth on those injury reports.
No,
What's
they-
this lower body injury?
They-
Everything below your waist could be injured. So, I mean, that's a problem.
It's hard to say, but what the Penguins really need to do is they need to make some more moves.
End of first period.
Not too many moves, and don't get
Here's
too
a
crazy.
thing that I knew about. I can't believe the Penguins didn't know about it. Did you hear the rule that the Penguins didn't realize they were breaking a rule?
Well, they didn't break it. I mean, Sid can't play tonight.
Well, they won't
because
let
of it.
you break the rule.
Right.
But the rule is if you're injured, if you're missed
For the All-Star game, you're not allowed to play the first game back.
And that's gone on for at least a couple years that I know
No,
of.
no,
How
the-
did they miss it?
The question I have about that is, now I don't know if that
Interesting.
rule applies if you're elected to the All-Star team and you don't even go, that you're not allowed to play the first game, or if you would have went for the weekend for the Fan Fest and all the, because he wouldn't have been able to compete in a skills contest
It,
nor the
it
game.
may have been if you don't show up at all.
But either way, if that's what the rule is, then that's what the rule is. But I think he was wise to sit out the game, because what's more important, is playing an All-Star game or possibly having an opportunity to raise the Stanley Cup. And I think really that's what his goal is going to be.
Isn't it funny though that through the halfway point of the season, the Penguins have used more players actively than any other team in the NHL. The exact numbers between 32 and 36 players, bodies that they've used so far in this campaign so far. But what I think is going on here is that we complained for years that the season was too easy. We coast through the regular season. We don't have enough adversity. These guys aren't tough enough. And then we get in the playoffs and we get bounced out for all those exact reasons.
Do you know last year they led the league in missed games?
Yeah. So what I think's happening is now,
And the year before?
up to this point, they're getting faced with adversity. That we're finding out, we got the young guys coming up from Wilkes-Barre. We're finding out who can play, who can't play. Yeah, a couple moves are going to need to be made, but nothing really, like groundbreaking or earth-shaking. They got a good core. If everybody can stay healthy, guys keep getting hurt. Letang got boarded. The guy that boarded Letang only got 8 games.
Yeah. Yes, and that's another thing to speak to. But I think some of the things that are going on with the Penguins is the fact that they've had a revolving door policy, and not because they've wanted to, because people have gotten hurt.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to get really the continuity in the lines that they need to have to be able to be effective to go deep into the playoffs. I really don't look at the Penguins team right now as being a team that is going to go deep in the playoffs. That's on January 27th today. Now, fortunately, we don't go to the playoffs until April, so there's plenty of time to turn that around. And to speak to the incident that Zach was talking about, where Rinaldi boarded Chris Letang deliberately.
Left his feet.
He left his feet. He deliberately tried to hurt him, and then he bragged about it to reporters after the game. Didn't you guys see how I changed the outcome of that game? Now, here's a guy that this is not the first time that he's done this. He's been suspended multiple times. And the NHL is going to suspend him for 8 games. For what? Going to Letang's head? Well, this is the same game where you sit there and allow 2 men to drop their gloves and punch each other repeatedly in the head. If you want to get this out of the game, you need to go across the board and get headshots out of the game, whether it's with your fist, your shoulder, your knee, or whatever else. What they should have done with this kid is they should have suspended him for the rest of the year. Put a several $million fine on him and let people know that this is not acceptable behavior in this game. We're not going to continue to allow this to go on.
I like fights in my hockey.
Nah, you know what? I think that
well,
that
here
ship
you
is
can
sailed.
ask Smoking Jim.
I think that
as a
ship is
player and as a coach that he only coached for 6 months till they threw him out. Would you be under the? I don't even know how to say this, but if you saw a player that was the exception, the best men among boys, wouldn't you send your guys to try to take him out?
Yeah.
Okay, you have it there, because we've had this private conversation. He's going to do everything else to get rid of that guy, and anybody that's played sports, they want to take out the best player on the team. So it behooves you to have good players around them.
We hear that night. Go back to the what's the kid's name? The kid's name's Browner. He's a safety for the Patriots, and he's talking about deliberately hurting 2 of the Seahawks defenders. That Richard Sherman's got a bad elbow. Earl Thomas has a bad shoulder, and he's telling his teammates that they need to go out and hit them and knock them out of the game. These are his union brethren that he's talking about deliberately hurting.
Well, I guess that concludes the Penguin segment for tonight, folks. We slipped into a little bit more NFL talk there. What do we got left, Al Levine?
We got some Pitt talk. What do you think about that Pitt basketball team? I don't know if they're in the right division.
No, they're not an NCAA tournament team this year at all.
I'm just sad that Coach K couldn't have got his 1,000th victory over Pitt. Go Jamie Dixon.
Well, he did beat him, a couple weeks before.
What did Jamie Dixon just get his 300?
He got 999 against us.
Faster.
Yeah.
Let's shed some light on that. Jamie Dixon, for everybody wants to.
Isn't he one of the 4th fastest
Correct.
at ever getting 300 wins?
Yes,
so.
that's very right.
When he gets to a Final Four.
That
We
is
don't
right.
care about that. We're about the W's.
But
And Pitt.
the Pitt
Keep winning 20.
Pitt basketball team, I don't think that it's going to make it to the NCAA tournament this year. They've got a big kid that it's going to be coming in there. Got him out of a junior college next year. He's a 7-footer, like 300 and some pounds. But they've got nobody in the middle right now. And they've got nobody that can hit an outside jump shot.
Well, how about there's a kid for Chartiers Valley named Matty McConnell that's putting up sometimes 54 points in a high school game, I think he can shoot from the outside. Why is not Pitt recruiting him?
Probably going to go to Duquesne.
For the
with
same
rest of his
reason why the
family
Pitt
tradition.
football team or the Pitt never recruit in Western
Or end
Pennsylvania.
up
That's
in
it.
Arizona.
You know,
That's it.
I mean that's been a problem.
But at least Pitt got an Italian coach now, so it looked like Danucci.
What are
may
we
be
going for?
So now we're on the football program.
committed.
Now.
Well, either way,
on the
'cause-
football side, changing gears. I'll segue for you, Smoking Jim. Off to the football side, but we just got a
We only
four-star
got
recruit.
9 minutes. We got to get it in.
We got a 4-star recruit.
This
that
is
Narduzzi-
rapid fire discussion time. Go ahead.
Narduzzi just brought in
Oh
a
yeah,
4-star blue
and
chip.
I think a gold star needs to get put on Jim Harbaugh's forehead.
Yes.
Because, he's out recruiting. He's hitting the recruiting trail. And he's using all of his people skills to get new recruits to the University of Michigan because they have the fewest number of commitments of any of the major colleges.
Really?
So he goes to Nebraska, and he goes to recruit, I think, a 3 or a 4-star defensive lineman, okay, who'd already committed verbally to Nebraska, and he's trying to talk to him about coming to Michigan instead of Nebraska. And you know what he had the nerve to say to the child and his father in their own living room? Well, academically, you're not, going to make it to college on your academics. The only chance you've got is by playing football.
All right, I love it.
And the kid's father threw him out of the house.
Hey, well,
he
we're-
told him to get out. He said he's going to Nebraska.
Now we're going to go from Michigan football and Harbaugh, who I
That
don't
kid will be a
respect.
loser.
I just got the control room. Matt Harkins just gave some news here.
All right, Matt.
Pitt is losing to Virginia Tech at halftime.
Virginia Tech got a kid from Marquette.
26-22, and that holds up your theory. You got to recruit locally.
Yeah.
What
I've
is
been
wrong?
saying that for years.
I know, but now we all agree.
Well, that's good.
Mark this down, all of
We
our
just
fans.
got trounced over the weekend, the University of Pitt men's basketball team.
Why? Who'd
by
they lose to?
Louisville. And we lost because there was a kid on the team from Youngstown, Ohio, that absolutely took us to the woodshed. And why wasn't that kid looked at? Why wasn't that kid talked about?
They did look at him.
Yeah,
They said
right.
bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. That's right.
Wave to it.
Bye-bye. That's
You
right.
got an opportunity to go to Louisville or to go to Pitt.
Let me
What do you
weigh
think you're
that.
gonna do?
Yeah.
You go to Louisville, you'll play for a national championship. You go to Pitt, not so much.
Yeah, or if you can get to Kentucky and be one and done, you go to the Final Four every year.
Well, you know what, Chip, with that logic, thank God that not every
Another
young man
great
think
Italian
like that, you know?
coach.
Thank God Larry
Calipari.
Fitzgerald, thank God a bunch of guys, along the lines didn't think of like that, that, hey, we could go to here and play for a national championship. Hey, let's get the Kamikaze Kid and those Pitt boys on the phone right now and ask them if they mailed it in because they're the last ones that won and hoisted the trophy for the
You want me to
University
call?
of Pitt.
You want me to call Chuck?
I'm sure he feels strongly about
Yeah,
that,
they
you
went
know?
to, the Kamikaze Kid and Tony Dorsett went to a lot of classes.
No, we're not talking.
We're not talking about
classes.
classes. We're not
They
talking
went
about
to
education.
practice.
You didn't even go to any class at California University, and they gave you a degree
I think he has 2 degrees.
of separation.
I like it. You learned something from me, Sonny. Thanks. He stole my line. He knows what that's about.
It's pretty good.
Well, we touched on high school smoking, Jim. What other players should we look at in basketball?
Well, right now, the thing is, there's kids like, say, Terrell Pryor that probably should have went basketball because things didn't quite work out as well in football because they still don't want to play black quarterbacks. But there's some twins at Alderdice called the Jackson Twins.
Yeah, I've read about them.
And they're probably going to play football, but right now they're probably 2 of the better basketball players I've seen in a long, long time. They're outstanding. There's a 10th grader for Lincoln Park, and I'm a little disappointed because Rowan took his kid out of there and put him in Florida. But there's a kid named Nelly, and he's not a rapper. Nelly in 10th grade that's outstanding. There's a kid for Seton LaSalle that's in 10th grade named Paris Ford. Football, basketball player,
And-
outstanding.
And my
Seton
thing, is,
LaSalle.
my thing on Jamie Dixon, when was the last time, I remember when, and God rest the legend Joe Paterno, I remember when it was a big deal to be recruited and for the coach to come by the high school and to sit down and talk to you, and there'd be like a pep rally and a press conference, and it was a big deal. When was the last time Jamie Dixon landed anybody of any kind of stature from southwestern Pennsylvania for the basketball program? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But Warren Blair was almost gift wrapped and dropped on Oakland's doorstep because he got knee on knee. He's nobody else really recruited him highly or whatever. He was like a gift to stay at home.
Yeah, the Elmore Square Projects is right behind Pitt.
They didn't see him there, though. They never stopped by there. They don't know where it even is at. You just made an announcement to them.
But
Hey,
Warren
while
Blair,
we're talking Pitt, I want to change it up a little. Zach Brenner was out there, I guess, working for Pittsburgh Sportsline, Brenner Contracting, Amish Assassin, Ironbeard Management or something, but he was at a gymnastic event. Do you want to tell the folks what you saw there?
well, for starters,
Because you saw some great athletes.
I did see some great athletes, and I tell you what, I had no kind of appreciation for what it takes to be a gymnast until I showed up that Friday evening at the Fitzgerald
What did you
Fieldhouse.
learn? What did you learn?
Well, I learned that the average age for a gymnast is their peak is like 13 to 16. After 16 years old, they're considered washed up and over the hill. For
I
their
said,
sport.
welcome aboard, Z.
So,
He didn't know that.
So, but we should be getting some Pitt gymnasts, hopefully, on the Pittsburgh Sportsline as guests on the Monday night show. It's being worked on right now since I know the best gymnast on the team.
Would you
So-
say her name, please?
Well, her name's Lindsay, and I'm not going to say her last name because some people get funny about that. There's a lot of stalkers out there on social media. But Lindsay is one of the top gymnasts on the Pitt gymnastics squad. They lost to Ohio State that night, but Coach Tomlin was 2 rows in front of me, and we had a great conversation about his great coaching tenure so far with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, I got to interrupt. The fiction is getting deep. Zach he posted a photo, and Tomlin was about 22 rows away. He had his sunglasses on, he had a hat on, and he seemed to be watching the game or whatever they're doing, and his microphone was up. So I don't know how you got a photo like that. And some of his buddies were saying, did you go say hi to him or anything? Nobody got within 10, 20 feet within talking distance.
But after the meet, I was fortunate enough to get to talk to the coaches, and then a couple of the girls met me down at Burgatory down at the waterfront, and we had a great meal down there, and it was a lot of fun listening to the insight and listening to all the injuries and all the things that these girls got to overcome. Since, like I said, they're from 13 to 16 is considered their peak. These girls are now in college now smoking gin.
Pittsburgh
So they're a little long in the
Sportsline is
tooth.
expanding your knowledge there. If
Every
you would have
day.
just asked me or Chip about that, we could have told you that they're done by the time they're 16, a lot of them. And a lot of it has to do with flexibility and not maturing yet.
Chip, I was just stunned at how many of them were getting Tommy John surgery. At least 3 girls are on the shelf getting the.
No, Zach, they rip up shoulders, knees, tendons,
Ankles,
just I mean,
hamstrings.
They, when they're young, all those tendons and everything are flexible. As they start getting older,
And
they
when you
snap
watch,
like rubber
and when
bands.
you watch the Olympics, like you should be in super appreciation because that's like the pinnacle of the gymnastics
It
sport.
is.
But when you watch these things at the lower levels, like these girls are falling and they're hitting the ground
And they're
hard
starting
when
at
they
3,
slip.
4 years old. They're doing this stuff. And look at
And
how
I was just impressed with, like I said, in front of a whole, Fitzgerald Fieldhouse, some of these girls would slip off and fall and get back up, dust themselves off, and finish the routine, the standing ovations, because it takes a lot of guts when you fall on your face.
Well,
to
wait
get
till you
back up.
find out about ice skating also. I posted on Pittsburgh Sportsline that this lady won at the old age of 23.
Recently at the World's
Yes.
Skating Championships.
Wagner. She
Yeah.
just won, which is a rarity. There aren't many that have done it. So a
By
lot
the
of
time
these
they're
sports you got to talk.
23, they're in the ice capades,
Exactly.
getting paid professionally,
And that's
and
why
they don't
some of
do
them.
Peggy Fleming.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
some of the greats, though, like Yamaguchi and such, Levine, when you're that gifted and that talented, you kind of continue.
Well, it's like an average in football. 3, 4 years, but there's guys that play a dozen or 13
because
years.
then we had those.
We're going to have to wrap this up. Thanks, Zach Brenner. Thanks, Smoking Jim Frazier. Thanks, Chip the Prophet Hayner. We covered a lot of stuff. I hope you learned a couple things, and I hope you forget a bunch of the stuff that's here because it's really not true. It's just a little bit of banter here back and forth. We like to have a little fun, so we appreciate you watching the show. Check us out on Verizon 32 everywhere, Comcast 7 only in Bethel Park, YouTube 275 plus shows. Be safe out there, stay warm, and watch your travels throughout the roads here because they were getting a little icy tonight. Thanks for watching.